a very good morning to you, Grenada, and the rest of the world. On this Friday morning, folks, end of another week. And so morning here this morning. Some light showers or heavy drizzles, whatever you care to call them. And I just took a look at the satellite picture here. There's quite a bit of stuff out there, but very, very light stuff. I don't see a lot of precipitation, so I don't think we're going to expect any heavy showers or anything like that today. But yes, it's kind of cloudy and bleak looking out there this morning. By the way, it's 9:01 here in Grenada, so I'm assuming that for those of you joining us on social media this morning from, parts of North America and so on, it's 8 o'clock. And I do appreciate the fact that you guys get up so early on mornings just to be with us. Thank you very much. Do appreciate it. Ernesto is first up this morning. Hazel is second. Jones third. And Anthea is there as well. And so is Benedict Cador. So, pilgrims, let's take a look, see what's cooking here on Gudday Grenada on this Friday morning. 6th day of December. 19 days away from your big day, eh? Okay. We're going to start with a statement, which was, actually the statement was issued a couple of days ago, but in text form. And now the government has put it in video form. And that's the reason why I'm going to show this to you this morning, because they did a really nice job adding some beautiful scenic shots of Grenada. I'm not sure the reason for that, but nevertheless, we're going to share that with you in just a wee bit. And then I also have another video which I put together very quickly this morning. Between 2 and 3 o'clock this morning. It was rushed. But it's a piece which I have captioned, Pure Grenada, Land of the Derelicts. We've been harping on that for some time, eh? And yes, the national report is all queued up and ready to go. And then I spoke to him just a wee bit ago, and it seems like we got the problem he had last week with his PC resolved. And Brian Pitt's going to be joining us for his Friday morning pit stop. Yeah. So that's your rundown for the next hour or so. Now, let me get this. Wait a minute. Hold on a sec. Actually, we're going to start with my video. A little bit surprised here. Yeah, we're going to start with my video, which is titled Pure Grenada, Land of the Derelicts. I want you to take a look at this. We shot this footage. It's become common practice to dump derelict vehicles all over the place. A few months ago, we went up the East Coast, leaving St. George's, going through St. David, Grenville, all the way up to Liverard. And we showed you how many of these vehicles are just being dumped on the roadside. I mean, not even in the bush, man, on the roadside, just there. And then you hear bam, 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 bam from the authorities, and nothing's being done about it. Well, a few weeks ago, my two colleagues, two tour operators with the Grenada Green Group, Mandu Seals and Ian Blakey, took me up the West Coast this time. And I want to share with you what we captured. Well, isn't that sad? Isn't that sad? Pure Grenada. We're supposed to, keep this place pure. At least I'm assuming that one would, with a name like Pure Grenada. But these vehicles are strewn all over the place. And like I said a little while ago, it's not as if they dumped it in the bushes somewhere or somewhere, you might not be able to see it. This stuff is right there on the roadside. Yeah. And you keep hearing the talk about, don't you clean this stuff up and it's not supposed to happen and this and that. And nothing's done about it. Nothing is done about it. Oh, well, you've seen it for yourself. So now, it looks like we're going to wrap up this week with a true confession. I'm always straight up with you. And when I make a boo-boo, I say to you, hey, Georgie Porgy made a boo-boo. And Georgie Porgy made a boo-boo this morning. When I was putting together the newscast for this morning, somewhere between 2 and 3 o'clock, got to bed about 3:30 this morning, I obviously neglected to program that video with a statement which the government issued about the diplomatic passports. Maybe just as well, because you've heard it before, okay? We've talked about this before earlier on during the week. But the reason why I wanted to play this for you, it's because they decided to read the statement again. They prepared two versions, an audio version and a video version. And in the video version, they sent up a drone. I don't know who did that for them or if they did it themselves, but they captured some really beautiful images of this land of ours, really nice images. And I thought, hey, while you may not agree with the statement, at least let me share some of the beauty of Grenada with you. And so that's what I was supposed to do. And that's what I obviously didn't do. So don't blame anybody but moi, me, my fault, and I am sorry and humbly beg your forgiveness. Okay? Now, let me scroll back here a bit and see who else is out there with us this morning, because I'm expecting Mr. Pitt. I spoke to him about 7:30 this morning, and you remember last week we saw him, but we couldn't get his audio on. Well, that's all patched up. So yes, let's get back here and see what you guys have been saying. Arthur Langine says, happy Friday, Brother George. I'm so worried about the people of Dominica. Thanks for reminding me this morning. The polls opened in Dominica. Yes, sirree. I don't know how many of you joined us last night for this week's edition of MECWE Chat. I think we had something like 4 topics scheduled, but the entire program evolved around Dominica. Not a pretty picture, what's happening up there. Not a pretty picture. And I'm sure you've also heard that all the cruise lines that normally visit Dominica at this time of the year have temporarily suspended their visits to the island. You may have seen Prime Minister Skerritt bemoaning that fact. He made the announcement in the piece which we did put up on the site, GrenadaBroadcast.com. You can go check it out. So yeah, for the people who are involved in the tourism industry, this is really, really going to have an impact for them. I'm still thankful that I have not heard of any fatalities, and I'm hopeful that we will not be hearing of any fatalities. But the situation up there is not very nice. Not very nice. Okay? Now, who else is there? John Nosyneck is looking forward to the pit stop. Yeah, John, pit stop's coming your way any minute now. I expect to see him pop up on my screen here. Lindonna Charles is sending a blessed morning to everyone. Jean Pasco, hello, Jean. She says, let's continue praying for Dominica. Indeed, indeed, I did. Sean No Tap. Hey, Sean, I hope you're back in good shape. Sean is joining us. John says, isn't it pronounced by some derelicts? Derelicts? Yeah, John, listen, we pronounce things in so many different ways here. I've lost track. I don't bother with them. But yes, it's derelicts. Derelicts. All right? Come on down, John, and help us to clean this mess up. And by the way, you notice I'm still burping. I'm still hopefully at the tail end of my bout with whatever that water did to me. Bradley Vespre is saying, blessings and guidance always. Bradley, thank you so much. We always need that. Could never get too much of that. John says, and that's what the tourists see, pure, disgusting Grenada. It's ironic that the people who have exposed this stuff to me, yeah, you see it, driving around, but the people who helped me to focus on this were two tour operators, and between them, these people have driven thousands, I mean literally thousands of visitors to this island around Grenada. And it's so embarrassing for them sometimes when they have, you should hear the stories they tell. When they have to tell the tourist, please, it's gonna get a little bit better and so on. So it's shameful, it's shameful. I can't see what the rush is to this pure, maybe just me, pure Grenada. Maybe just me. Sean says, whoa. When I was living in Bonaire, we had a ship that came with crusher and paid for the wrecks. Let me see if I can find those details. I'll contact you after the show. We can change this. Boy, let me tell you, any idea that you can share with us, I'll certainly share with the authorities. Arthur Langine says, Grenada is a failed state under the NMP, led by you-know-who. Arthur, yes, we know it. We don't need to keep hearing that over and over about the NMP. We just don't. Time to move on. Sonia Mathlin Scott to say good morning to everyone. Arthur says, thanks, George, for the information. Okay, yeah, but please, let's just forget about harping on the NNP, man. Come on. Essentially, what you're doing is keeping us right where we are. You! Please, move on. Fitzroy Adams, say good morning to y'all. William Simon says it takes laws to deal with this. William, who tell you we don't have laws? William, we have more laws than we know what to do with. They are just not being enforced. Every little thing that ticks somebody off, we go to Parliament and we come up with a new law. Well, there's a call coming in from Mr. Brian Pitt, obviously he's calling to say he's a little bit late because it's now, 17 minutes after the hour, and I haven't seen him show up. That was a call from him. So I'm gonna go into the national report, and then we will return in just a wee bit, hopefully, with Brian.
Marrast Hill to be open to vehicular traffic from Monday. We'll have details to this story and more in the National Report. With the details to the news for Thursday, December 5th, I am Rikisha St. Louis. Works Minister Honorable Gregory Bowen says the Marrast Hill Road will be opened to vehicular traffic on Monday, following its closure due to road breakage last week. The temporary road fix was undertaken by Sunrise Construction Incorporated. Minister Bowen on Thursday said there has been a change in the scope of work for Marrast Hill, which originally included the construction of retaining walls. Following an accident which resulted in the breaking of the road, the decision was taken to do a temporary fix to avoid further disruption in the flow of traffic.
Originally, we had the retaining wall to be built, the area to be filled and compacted, and then resurfaced, and the road would then be reopened. However, that will take 28 days minimum, since before we could put any load against the retaining wall, it must be cured. We have decided now that we will fill without the retaining wall being built, and fill in such a manner that we'll expand it towards the side and the road can then be reopened. The expectation it is compare 28 days with Monday. This is the time we have in mind for reopening the road.
Minister Bowen says permanent construction work will resume in January during the slow period following the busy Christmas holiday. He encourages businesses to use the Christmas period to stockpile.
The rate at which the police force must deploy its members in areas where there will be no need if this road has reopened. And that is why from the policy level, from the government, the ministry level, we have decided to work it in this manner. Therefore, there will be an opportunity for the heavy trucks and the trailers to continue the business. We're asking, therefore, the business community to utilize this period to stockpile, because come January, in a low period, we will close this road and do the necessary works. Christmas time, a lot of traffic. You, the business community, the sugar mill, the flour mill, etc., you use it, so work day and night.
Contractor Desmond John explained the scope of work being done in the temporary phase of construction.
We have expanded the base and we are compacting the tiff in layers of 8 inches, making sure it's damp and moist, and we are receiving between 95% and 100% fracture. And we are bringing it right up to the surface. We'll put on a base course and then put a temporary wearing course on it. And that will hold for the period temporarily until the major work and permanent work start in January.
Private sector senator commends government's 2019 performance. Private sector representative in the Senate, Senator Christopher Diali, says government's performance in 2019 speaks volumes to the vision of the administration for the country. He said the sector rates the government for being stable, responsible, and for boosting investor confidence in the local economy during the last year. He was at the time making his contribution to the 2020 budget. According to Senator Diali, the government has been supportive of the private sector and continues to engage businesses in the affairs of the country. He's looking forward to more positive engagements in 2020.
That the performance in 2019 serves the private sector in two particular ways. It speaks to stability, because when government is showing that they can meet their targets and their fiscal responsibilities as they have laid out, it gives us the impression in the private sector that there is stability. It also says to us that when government can pay their bills on time to the private sector companies that buy from them, and even the utility companies, that is so critical to our survival, that is a positive. That is a positive, and we cannot let that bypass without saying that. It speaks to government meeting their responsibility, and that is an important thing. For us, the performance in 2019 has been commendable from a private sector point of view, and we believe that's the way to go, and we encourage the government to continue in that light.
Continuing with the news, government is pursuing the BOLT, Build, Operate, Lease, Transfer arrangement as a policy direction for saving financial resources on the rental of government facilities while creating hundreds of jobs for Grenadians. Prime Minister Dr. The Right Honourable Keith Mitchell made this announcement during the just concluded 2020 budget presentation at the Houses of Parliament in Mount Weldale. Dr. Mitchell said that the bold arrangement for 3 long-awaited infrastructural projects will incur no upfront demands on the government's coffers. In fact, he said the value of the projects to private entities is an estimated US $100 million and will create job opportunities for about 200 Grenadians. The finance minister indicated that the private sector's willingness to invest in our country is a testimony to its unmatched level of confidence in the local economy. However, the Prime Minister is even more heartened by the level of employment and economic activities these approved projects will generate. Among the buildings which will be renovated under this initiative are Governor General's residence, the Halls of Justice, and the police headquarters. This is a national report. We'll have more news after the break.
The Carnage will be transformed into a magical wonderland with lights, fun, music and action on Friday the 6th and Saturday 7th December in the first annual Festival of Lights. On December 6th, the action begins at 6 p.m. and on the 7th, the action begins at 5 p.m. and we go until 11. Come with your family to enjoy an amazing light show, a concert featuring our top local artists, Parang, Carol, Santa's Village, a kids zone, string band music, a Christmas night market, local cuisine and much more. But wait! There's more. On the 14th, the festivities begin at 5 p.m. and on the 21st, it kicks off at 3 p.m. Festival of Lights is sponsored by the Grenada Hotel and Tourism Association, Hideaway True Blue, Range Development, Harvey Law Group, National Lotteries Authority, Glenelg Natural Spring Water, Netherlands Insurance, and Jonas Brown and Hubbard's. Festival of Lights, the Carnage, December 6th and 7th, brought to you by the Grenada Tourism Authority and the Ministry of Tourism. No unauthorized vending.
Welcome back. One of Grenada's cultural icons has died. Mr. Winston Fleury worked tirelessly to ensure that Grenada became known on the world stage for its rich cultural heritage. In Carriacou, his flamboyant on-stage performances with the drum and his dancing moves to the big drum and quadrille are unlike any other. Minister for Culture and the Arts, Senator the Honourable Noland Cox, a native of Carriacou, extended condolences to the family of Mr. Fleury on the behalf of the government, saying his passing is indeed a great loss.
On behalf of the Ministry of Youth Development, Sports, Culture and the Arts, and of course the Government of Grenada, we wish to extend condolences to his family, his kids in particular. I know it's a difficult period for them. His nephew, who I know also, who lives in Carriacou as well. So we ask them to be strong in this time.
Senator Cox also spoke to Mr. Fleury's contribution to culture, in particular the big drum, saying it was an invaluable one which spans decades.
He is a cultural icon for Carriacou. I know him as a young boy, moving, pushing the big drum, cultural big drum in Carriacou. He also had a rich history in terms of linking Carriacou to our African heritage. I think that is where he really focused most of his efforts on. He trained a number of persons in big drum, teach them to play the drums. He also extended Carriacou, brought Carriacou culture to other parts of the world. He has done so much for us in terms of sustaining big drum on a whole in Carriacou. He really commands that aspect of our culture. I mean, when he takes a drum and starts to beat, everybody would move. You can hear a distinct difference. When he takes the floor to dance, his style, his confidence, I mean, he was just a notch above the rest.
Mr. Fleury, he says, also made valuable contributions to the agriculture sector on the Sister Isle. He
used to rear cattle. He had, at one point in time, the most cattle in Carriacou. He had a large flock, a large herd. He did a lot of work in terms of the development of cattle in Carriacou. And also after going and study, coming back and working as an agriculture extension, livestock extension officer, I also worked along with him as a farmer as well. So he has a rich history on both sides of the coin, culture and on the farming side. So he's going to be missed.
Senator Cox says the contributions made by Mr. Fleury during his lifetime will always be acknowledged by the people of Carriacou and Petite Martinique. Paying tribute to Mr. Fleury, the Grenada Cultural Foundation described him as a distinguished gentleman who led the big drum movement in the sister isle of Carriacou and exposed it to an international audience from time to time. He was made a cultural ambassador of Grenada in 2011, and in 2017 he received the Prime Minister's Lifetime Achievement Award from the Grenada Cultural Foundation. Finally, in the news, the Grenada Tourism Authority has made a slight change to the inaugural Festival of Lights on Friday to ensure a smoother flow of traffic. The show will now begin at 7 p.m. instead of 6 p.m. However, the start times for the festival on the 7th, 14th and 21st will remain the same. During the festival, which was launched on October 8th, the carronage will be lit from Burns Point to BB's Crabback. Day 1 will feature the launch of a dinghy concert and a light show, while Day 2 will feature local cuisine, a Christmas night market, and a chance for children to meet Santa Claus. Cole Hostialik, the GTA manager for product development and research, spoke to what patrons can expect.
Friday and Saturday are the main nights, and we have really great acts, so we're continuing to fine-tune those as we speak. We have it also on the 14th, where we have a mini Christmas market, and you're going to have some pan, for example. But on the 21st, we have a little bit more for the kids. On the 21st, we're going to have a bouncing castle area for them. We're going to have train rides around the carnage. It's going to also start earlier. Right, so it's going to start at 3 p.m. and it's going to end at 9 o'clock. But every night when you come, we are going to be stapling in the light show, because that is the big wow for us. The laser lights and the little Santa projections and all of these things that are going to be on the plaza.
The GTA is looking forward to a fruitful event while also promoting the carronage.
Hopefully, as we continue to go on, this is year 1, but we see that it has so much potential for many more years to come. Of course, yes, the Ministry of Tourism and the Grenada Tourism Authority are the ones, spearheading this project, but we can't do it without the business community on the carnage, and everybody has chipped in their own way.
That story just ended the national report for today, Thursday, December 5th, 2019. Let's recap the top story. Maras Hill to be opened to vehicular traffic from Monday. On behalf of the entire news team here at the Government Information Service, I am Rikisha St. Louis saying thank you for joining us. Until next time.
Alrighty, folks, there you have it. That was last night's national report from the Government Information Service. And as you can see, he's there, all bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, having a sip of water, which I forgot to provide myself with this morning. How are you, Mr. Pitt?
Good morning, George. I'm great. Could you hear me?
Oh, just loud and clear. I can not only hear you, I can see that big, bright face of yours.
And how are you doing this morning, George?
I'm doing pretty good this morning. I mentioned a little while, was it raining by you this morning?
A little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so Mr. Pitt, what time you departing for Dominica to cast your vote?
I already voted.
You have already voted?
Yes, you don't have to go there to vote, you know.
Oh, it's just in Grenada you have to fly in to vote.
No. We are very sophisticated now, George. We have a carrier. that will collect all the votes and bring it to Dominica and put it in a box.
Yeah, manual is always best.
We have to cut costs, George.
Yeah.
All these plane tickets are expensive.
Have you heard anything this morning about any reports out of Dominica this morning?
George, you know, it's fascinating. I've been reading a lot of reports of people commenting on what's happening in Dominica, wishing that there would be no bloodshed. I read something on your site from the Windmuds or the Caribbean Bar Association.
Yeah.
And I'm reading all these things, George, and I'm asking myself the question, how did we get here?
Yeah.
How did we get to this point where the people of Dominica are so frustrated that no reasonable voice now can stop that anger? How did we get here? Yeah, George?
You want me to answer that?
I'm not hearing. Pardon me?
I'm glad I asked that same question last night on McWe Chat, because I don't know whether or not you saw the statement issued by the Prime Minister of Dominica a couple of nights ago, where he told about all the terrible things that are happening in Dominica and how concerned he was. And I fully understand where he's coming from. But as I mentioned on the program last night, what jumped out at me, Brian, is that this man spoke for 20 minutes plus and never once hinted as to why it became necessary for him to have to deliver the type of address that he did. How did we get here?
And the powers that be in the region, George, and the enablers and organizations who are supposed to be providing checks and balances allowed this thing to get here. What I'm not hearing from all these groups that are now putting out all these reports is that how can we make elections in the Caribbean more transparent and fair? Yes, George?
Yes, sir.
If I'm not mistaken, elections have become very expensive in the Caribbean. And why is it expensive? It's expensive because we have to give away money. It's expensive because we have to bring in T-shirts from varying sources.
China.
It's expensive because we have to get entertainers from all over the world.
Buju Banton.
Yes. To impress the voters to vote for us. We have passed the stage, George, where we get into a debate with the opposition or parties who are running for office to talk about issues. As I recall in Grenada a few years ago, one party bluntly refused to take part in a debate to discuss topics. So elections have become very expensive because of the nature of elections. And I don't hear any of these voices talking about how are we supposed, or should we be able to control those people who are donating to elections? Should they be made accountable? Should we know who are donating to these elections and how much they are donating? Yes, George? Mm-hmm. We're talking about campaign reform. We've been talking about this for God knows how long. Because I need to know, George, given that there is no free lunch in this world, who is making contributions to varying political parties so that they can win an election? And
how much?
Yes, George?
Mm-hmm.
And I think we are disingenuous if we're talking about cool it down in Dominica, and we are not talking about how can we get to the bottom of who is contributing, and I'm not only talking about money, we're talking about container loads of goods. Yes? And that is a conversation we need to have, and maybe we need to have this at the CARICOM level. But then again, who is in charge of CARICOM? These same prime ministers who are now making elections as unfair as possible because they're in government and they can attract huge donations from varying sources. If I'm not mistaken, I hear in Dominica, somebody in Dominica suggested that, listen, this is not, this was a donation for a political campaign. Mm-hmm. Yes, George? Mm-hmm. So we're in a dangerous place, and I can understand the frustration of the people in Dominica. But by the way, justice denied is not good justice, right? But in a lot of cases, people cannot get a just reward through the court. In the case of Grenada, we're still trying to get a venue, George, so that we can have justice.
Yeah.
So people will be angry at judges, people will be angry at systems, people are just generally angry at everything. And that's frustration, George. It's hard to get that genie back in the bottle.
Let me ask you something. When you see what's happening in Dominica right now, does it concern you that we could possibly see the same here when our next cycle rolls around?
George, I looked at the release that the Government of Grenada put out recently about this Al Jazeera report. And they did an excellent production job of an overhead drone flying around.
Yes.
Taking some
Yes.
beautiful pictures.
Yes.
And somebody made a lot of money to put that video together. But the video did not, the message did not talk to what the problems are. It is true that there are people in the past of Grenada who held diplomatic passports and went to jail. Am I not right?
Yes, sir.
So what are you telling me? That everything is okay in Grenada? I don't think so, George. And elections are still very expensive to run.
You know, I'm glad you brought that part up about the drone, because last night when I was putting this morning's program together, I really intended to show that piece you're just talking about there. And when I went to pull it up here a few minutes ago, I realized that I really forgot, totally forgot. True confession, Brian, no lies. I forgot to program it. Okay, so I did not run it. But I'm glad that you mentioned the spectacular photography or videography that was done. I really am glad. It was just so pronounced. So.
When you look at that, George, you have to be impressed. As a matter of fact, I'm looking at this video and I'm thinking to myself, okay, this is not for me. This is for the rank and file of the party in power and the enablers. That is giving the enablers talking points so that when they come on your show or any other show in the immediate future, or talking to me in a rum shop somewhere, or over a domino game somewhere, they have talking points. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. That was what that video was for. You know, it is frustrating, and I hope what has happened in Dominica doesn't manifest itself in Grenada. But I don't hear anybody talking about how we're going to correct the situation, how we're going to make the CBI program more transparent. We passed legislation to keep things secret, you know. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Why did we pass the legislation to keep things secret? Because the people who are getting our passports don't want us to know that they have our passports? Come on. You know, there's a definite silence out there, George, that concerns me. So yes, I believe what has happened in Dominica can very well happen in Grenada sooner than later. Mm-hmm. As a matter of fact, George, the political class, not only in Grenada, but in the region right now, well, a lot of those people demonstrated against regimes like the Gary regime. Mm-hmm. 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 Because of what they consider corrupt administrations. Yes? Mm-hmm. Now, gone are the days where a prime minister can lose an election or walk away from politics, as Eugenia Charles did in Dominica, without a fear of going to jail.
Yes.
George. So we have to stay in power.
Yeah.
And where this thing will end is anybody's guess, George.
The good thing, Brian, is that I think people are becoming more acutely aware. And I don't want to say the wool will no longer be pulled over their eyes, because, I mean, there are some people who, it's like an obsession. They know certain things are wrong, but because they get a little penny halfpenny on the side.
Yes, yes. They're benefiting.
Yeah.
They're benefiting, George, and there are a lot of people that are benefiting. Now, I hear reference in the Grenada release to other countries having a CBI program. Like they mentioned the United States and Canada and the United Kingdom. But if I'm not mistaken, you have to work after receiving whatever that entrance is to get citizenship, you know. I think you have to be a landed immigrant in the case of Canada for a period of time. We have to assess whether or not, the Canadians have to assess whether or not you will make a good citizen before you're granted this status. So it is not true to suggest that they all have programs similar to ours. Yes, George?
Absolutely. But again, they're preaching to a certain crowd, Brian. People who are gullible and going to buy that.
Yes, they are. Yes, they are. Yes, they are. George, I was listening to your report on the GIS this morning and heard a conversation about the boats project.
Yeah. Okay.
Build, operate, lease, and transfer. And I wonder to myself, which friendly country is going to now control these very important national assets? York House, the Governor General's home, the police headquarters, and the prisons. I didn't hear them mention the prisons. Which country, friendly bilateral country, will now control these national heritage sites? And when they control them and they build them and supposedly lease them, when will we be able to pay them back for them? And it reminds me of a certain country who was building a lot of assets in Africa. And the world now understands that they now own some of these assets. We have very little else to sell, George. And this boat discussion concerns me. Yes, George?
I hear you.
Now, a lot of us are very silent about these issues, but yet still we find it necessary to put pen to paper for what is happening in Dominica. And I believe that some of these people should have some other things to talk about. Items like this. Now, I understand there's a certain country that is now controlling an entity in Grenada that was put there to build our nation, support sports and culture, and nation building. I believe at some point in time we will hear more about that.
Could you give us a little detail?
I believe that the reporters in this country should ask the powers that be who is now controlling the lotto.
The lotto. Okay.
Yes. You know, I think a lot of things are happening underneath our noses, George, and we're not paying attention. And maybe we're not paying attention because we are busy just trying to live. I was talking to a certain individual a few days ago and asked him a simple question. Do we know what the living wage is in Grenada? Do we know what it costs a person to live? And this person is an economist. This person at some point advised the government of Grenada. And they didn't see the relevance. What does it cost an individual to live? I think we should find that out pretty soon, George, because that frustration will manifest itself in some other area.
Joan,
sorry to bring you sad news.
Joan Wellington, he says here, these prime ministers just want to hold on to power and reign forever at any cost. And I wonder why elections are between two parties. Everyone has its supporters. Why can't they just vote for their chosen one, and whichever party wins has to look out for the whole nation, but not just for their voters?
It is absolutely important as we go forward, George, that we all know who is financing political campaigns and put a lid on how much people can contribute. Otherwise, other people who run our countries in this region who have no interest in the betterment of the people of the country.
You know something that came up on last night's debate on MEC Chat? This thing about people flying in to vote. The panel generally felt that it was unfair to have people who live abroad forever just come here for 2 days because they got a free ticket and some accommodation, a $1,000 check or whatever, to cast their vote and tell us how we should live. And then election day is gone, them gone too. And the panel generally felt last night that's not at all fair. What say you?
I believe that is ridiculous, to be quite honest with you. That is not fair at all and should not be allowed to happen. Should not be allowed to happen. And if there's a loophole in the law that allows that to happen, then all the local bar associations should make sure. You see, George, I am not only frustrated, I am disappointed in some of the lawyers that are visible and vocal in the local bar associations in this region that are not championing the cause for transparent governance. Yes? You know, and this is an issue that needs to be attended to. And there is no reason why they can't be harmonious laws in the region, in the OECS in particular, to make sure that this does not happen in the future. But we need to harmonize these things. And sometimes I wonder why we have the OECS and why we have CARICOM if we cannot harmonize legislation so that governance becomes easier and more transparent.
All right, Mr. Pitt, let me try and shift gears here for just a minute. Are you aware that there's going to be a march today to observe Anti-Corruption Day?
No, I'm not aware.
Okay. I have been advised by the Integrity Commission, sir, and I showed this to Mr. Brzezinski yesterday. This morning, actually, it should be underway at about now. It was due to get started at 9:30 this morning down in Tantine and march along the Port Highway down to Queen's Park, but they changed it, and they're going to start at the Ariza building on Melville Street, just outside the tunnel there. The theme is, Together We Unite Against Corruption. Now, I don't know what sort of reaction I'm going to get from you, but yesterday when I read this to Mr. Brzezinski, he more than wet his diapers, I can assure you. Yeah, look at it. Office of the Integrity Commission. The Office of the Integrity Commission will be observing International Anti-Corruption Day, which is held annually on December 9th. This year, the Commission will be observing the said day through a week of events under the theme, Together We Unite Against Corruption. To this end, the Office of Integrity Commission is inviting you and your media house to send a representative to cover the following events. It starts with the Anti-Corruption March, beginning at 9:30. The march will be attended primarily by representatives from primary, secondary, and tertiary schools, as well as stakeholders of the Integrity Commission. You know, I think it would be very interesting. I just really wish I could take my camera and be down there to see the placards that these kids, based on this, placards that they're going to come up with. And I hope that they're not going to be influenced as to what the placards can say. Because kids today are pretty damn outspoken, right?
Well, George, you got me thinking now, you know. I mean, so it's the International Day of Corruption. And
International Anti-Corruption Day.
Anti-Corruption Day, okay. But corruption starts in most of these countries at the head. The rank and file worker in Grenada doesn't go into a job being corrupt. They practice corruption because they see it coming down, George. So it is normal now, for example, that if you go to a ministry to get something done, you might get it done a lot faster if maybe you can make a contribution to a lunch or a top up. And that has become the norm. Why? Because they see people above them or people in the past acting in this manner. Now, it is interesting to see that the Integrity Commission is championing the cause of this approach to anti-corruption. But the Integrity Commission itself has some work to do in cutting out corruption.
Yeah.
They should be investigating a lot of matters that concerns family and friends getting opportunities because of the position of their spouses in Grenada. And whether or not there's a conflict of interest there, and whether or not there's corruption involved at that level.
Yeah.
Yes, George?
Yes, sir.
It's an interesting letter. I must put my hand on it during the course of the day.
Well, this was actually hand-delivered to me. Now, I see a note here on social media. Benedict Cador is asking, is it the 6th or the 9th? Which is a very good question, because this letter here gives, let me see, both dates. It says, observing International Anti-Corruption Day, which is held annually on December 9th. Further down, it says Anti-Corruption March on Friday, December 6th.
Okay.
Which is today. I'm also invited to a media reception on November 11th. That's got to be sometime next week. So I'm a little bit confused about this.
Well, there must be a week of celebration then.
Yeah.
And we choose to have the march today, Friday.
Yeah. Actually, last night I had somebody sitting here from Carriacou who came down to join that march today.
Okay, okay.
So I guess it's going to be today. Yeah. All right.
Let's see how it unfolds, George.
So since you hadn't heard about this, I guess you're not going to be participating, eh?
No. I have a bad leg.
You have what?
A bad leg.
You have a bad leg.
Yes, I hit my foot going down the step this morning.
Okay, hold on. Don't try this Grenadianese on me. You have a bad leg because you hit your foot?
Yeah, my leg, sorry. I hit my leg.
You hit your leg.
Yeah. Walking is difficult.
Okay. That's easier. I understand that.
Have a nice day, George.
You too, Mr. Pitt. Thank you very much. Have a nice weekend.
Same to you.
All right. Mr. Brian Pitt there with his Friday morning pit stop on Good Day Grenada. Folks, time's now moved on to, let's see here, 3 minutes away from the hour. John Franco says, my father used to say, if the head of the river is dirty, the mouth cannot be clean. George Franco. Okay, John Franco. And who is it here saying? Ryan says, yes, a fish rots from the head down. Okay. Folks, that's going to do it. That's going to do it. Okay. You guys try and figure out what you're trying to say. All right, pilgrims. Quick break. Wrap it up. After this, yeah, I think so. Yep, here we go.
Can I have a chicken lunch, please? Large.
Real nice today.
I don't want that.
But you just asked for a chicken lunch.
I don't have problem with the lunch. Afraid the container.
What is the problem with it?
These styrofoam containers, they don't good for the environment. They shorten with life.
What foolishness you telling me? So what you want me to use?
Put me food in this. Where you get that? At the food fair, where you could get all biodegradable food boxes and disposable food supplies like cups, plates, anything you could think about. Name it, it's there. And they don't harm the environment. Food fair, taking the lead in cleaning up and protecting the environment. Hey, like you take me advice, you get in your biodegradable food supplies.
Well, girl, I supporting who's supporting the environment. That is why I shop in at food fair.
Food fair, where you can fill your baskets without emptying your pockets. Products distributed by Hubbard's agency, Kirani James Boulevard.
Why wish upon a star? For a bank is better by far. Whatever you're wishing for this Christmas, will give you low interest and no fuss.
Co-op Bank is making Christmas wishes come true. Fix up your home, treat your loved ones, and get everything on your Christmas list this year with our no-fuss loans. As we count down the 12 days to Christmas, you can win awesome prizes every day. Special terms and conditions apply.
Christmas wishes come true with Co-op Bank and you.
GRENADA continues to celebrate 25 years of partnership and growth. So this December, we're giving every customer the chance to spin and win. Just pay your bill in full on or before December 18th. Then, on Wednesday, December 18th, join us at any GRENADA customer care location. Spin to win giveaways that will make this season even more festive. Hams, groceries, gift vouchers, wine, electricity vouchers, and more. Join the celebration. December 18th, spin and win with GRENADA. Visit our website or Facebook page for more information. Terms and conditions apply.
Juve chocolates, cocoa nibs, and cocoa balls from Diamond Estate Grenada are now available at Amazon.com, Amazon.ca, Amazon.co.uk, and GrenadaMarket.com. Try their sensational touch of nutmeg and a touch of ginger chocolates, 75% dark and rich, 100% pure cocoa, and their 60% dark and sweet chocolate bars today. Amazon Prime members enjoy free shipping on these orders in the USA, Canada, and Europe. GrenadaMarket.com. When you can't come to the island, the products of the island will come to you.
Folks, as we come to the end of another week and pull the curtain down on the Friday edition of Good Day Grenada, here's some food for thought for the weekend. It's our daily inspirational. Today's reading comes to you from the book of Romans chapter 12, verses 14 to 21. Bless those who persecute you. Bless. Do not curse. Rejoice with those who rejoice. Mourn with those who mourn. Live in harmony with one another. Do not be proud, but be willing to associate with people of low position. Do not be conceited. Do not repay anyone evil for evil. Be careful to do what is right in the eyes of everyone. If it is possible, as far as it depends on you, live at peace with everyone. Do not take revenge, my dear friends, but leave room for God's wrath. For it is written, "It is mine to avenge. I will repay, says the Lord." On the contrary, if your enemy is hungry, feed him. If he's thirsty, give him something to drink. In doing this, you will be heaping burning coals on his head. Do not be overcome by evil, but overcome evil with good. Pilgrims, that's where we're going to pull the curtain down, not only for today, but for the week. And as always, I say thank you very much. Hold on a minute here. Let's see. Maria St. Bernard says, having lived away from Grenada for 45 years, what is the residency requirement for voting in the next election? Joan Wellington, that's a question from Maria, by the way. Joan Wellington says, thank you, Mr. Grant. Feel better. Have a wonderful day and looking forward to Sunday class. Boy, are we looking forward to seeing you as well. Sonia Mathlin Scott says, thanks again, Gigi, for sharing such an interesting program this morning, as always. My dear friends, you go in peace to love and serve your God. Yeah. Have a great weekend. Don't do anything I wouldn't do. I'm going to finish eating Sharon's black cake. Can you believe it? I didn't think it would last until today, but I only had about half of what she brought. Not because it wasn't good. It was great. It was great. But I sort of took some of her advice to pinch it. So I've been pinching. Yeah. Folks, God bless you. And please, join us on Sunday morning for the next interesting stuff coming up on Sunday. I don't know where we get all this stuff, the interesting stuff coming up on Sunday morning. Some are going to make you go, say what? God bless you.